to Whose Turn Is It Anyway? A podcast all about our gaming group and, of course, board games. I'm James Davey, who's been king made and is your new current first player. Suck it. I'm joined by other players. JP.
Hello.
Tambo.
Hello.
To talk about Cardboard Arcade. How's everyone doing today?
Yeah, pretty good, mate. Pretty good. I have to say, I'm slightly nervous. Like you've taken over the reins. Your first play, I've got the bleep machine on standby. And I think we need to put a little warning to our listeners that maybe the language is going to get a little bit salty for the next 4 episodes. Maybe.
I know there is a swear word in the title, but I don't know whether to keep it in or not. I might just get rid of it. It is in brackets.
You might surprise everybody.
Yeah.
Or not surprise.
Yeah.
Anyone who knows Davey, he loves saying shit and things like that.
Well, it's just I like using it in a
all the time.
I was going to say
emphasis.
Yeah, I can't think of the word, so we're moving on. Right, Tambo.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm all good. Thanks. Yep.
He's back again.
Yeah, back again.
Yeah.
Good to do an episode with you, Tambo. This is our first one, right?
Yep, it is.
Yeah. Definitely. So, as a brief update to our podcast schedule, because I know it's been a bit here, there, everywhere, expansions and all this. JP's just going to fill us in. The anal man he is. Off you go.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for that. I just wanted to kind of highlight that we've obviously been releasing a hell of a lot of expansion pack episodes, and if you don't know what the hell we're talking about, expansion pack episodes are kind of our side hustle, side projects of doing kind of content, maybe with guests that we've had previously. We've had Paul Grogan, we've had Eurydice Games, who are designers and publishers and manufacturers of Flick Fleet, and also Dan Apsey from the 24-hour board game marathon. And we've got a lot more kind of in the chamber to kind of carry on, but essentially our main episodes are still going to try and stick to our fortnightly release. I know we just had to shuffle the last one around a little bit, but generally we're going to try and keep the main episodes to every fortnight, and we'll sprinkle in the expansion packs.
The content cannon is firing, don't you worry.
We've created a lot more work. We've created a lot more work for ourselves. You know, the stress is getting higher, but they're so much fun to do, aren't they? And it just gives us that, I think, as a podcast, that flexibility to explore, test things as well. Maybe we test different episode ideas. I've got loads of things that I could try. They might work, they might not. They might be a bit shit. Hey, I've swore twice and you haven't sworn. And
we're hoping we'll have a wargaming one with maybe some guests coming up soon as well. So,
and I'd like
dabbling into the different side of gaming.
I'm happy to kind of just do some like solo ones. And it's probably just me on my own talking to
have a little ramble.
Have a little ramble for 20 minutes. Who knows? But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
So let's talk about Hex, the little segment where we just kind of talk about what we've been up to.
Yeah, you're not going to do the intro like Adrian's been doing in the past 4 weeks.
What intro is that again? Remind me.
Oh, I can't remember it.
I can't remember it.
It's based off the song, isn't it? Like, let's talk about sex.
Yeah, I know, but I know it's based off the song, but I couldn't remember what he was doing, so I wasn't going to go down that avenue.
I thought I put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You put me on the spot as much as you want. Don't have a clue. I've listened to it a lot of times, but it has obviously not gone into the cortex. So
I'm winding you up. Carry on.
So over to JP. What have you been up to?
Yeah, as always, lots to choose from, but we always have a rule to say pick one, because the whole episode will literally just be this, which might actually be quite fun one time. But
we can sit around for hours and hours talking about board games, can't we?
And we do. So, but I'm actually going to pick Burncycle, mainly because it's probably been the game that I've played the most since the last episode I've been on, and obviously I've missed the last one and a bit of the one before. Burncycle is a games published by my favourite publisher, Chip Theory Games. No surprise that
Surprise, yeah. Shock horror.
Yeah, but
everyone's mouths hit the floor right now.
Really, it's more poker chips. Yes, it's more neoprene now. I know, but essentially, what is it? Burncycle is set in the future. You are all kind of robots that are a resistance group called the 404th, and you're essentially infiltrating nasty, horrible corporations run by horrible people. So pretty much like real life. And the premise or the story behind the game, if you want to attach a story or lore to this, is that humans created robots robots developed artificial intelligence. Humans ended up wiping themselves out. The robots ended up bringing humans back because they were nice, and then the humans enslaved the robots. Because again,
Right. The Terminator, just with a whole middle section chucked in. Yeah,
exactly, with a bit of a fleshed out middle story. And you are this like resistance group that's trying to not overthrow the corporations, but you're trying to get back your code that you can become free again, essentially. And so you kind of pick your plucky robots, and it's got this kind of it doesn't take itself seriously whatsoever. So it's got that too many bones pun vibe to it, which I quite enjoy, and it's essentially a stealth game. So think Metal Gear Solid.
Snake,
right?
snake,
Yeah.
snake.
No. So it's like Metal Gear Solid, where you're going into like these kind of buildings and facilities, and you're trying to sneak past guards and distract them, lead them astray, get to your objective, do the missions. And what's quite cool about it is that it's developed over multiple floors in the building. And you have objectives that you have to do for each floor and work your way up. Just like Too Many Bones, but not as much in-depth customization that you do have with your gear locks. That every bot is different. They all have a series of different
More
sets of skills.
programming though, isn't
It's a
it?
bit of programming element in there because one of the bots you always have to take with you is called the command module. And the command module is like the bot that's running the Burncycle. So essentially, the Burncycle is the action programming selection mechanism in the entire game. So if you can think of 3 slots, which is what the Burncycle was kind of created on, and you can alter the Burncycle by putting these chips in, by adding like a physical action chip or a tech action chip or a utility one. And if you match your action to that chip, you get an optimized action, so you get a better kind of return on your efficiency, essentially, if you program your moves in a certain way. And that itself is quite an interesting puzzle just to mess around with.
It's quite like Marmite here though, from certain responses.
Yeah, it's not going to be a game for everybody.
No.
I mean, if you want more, I want to go and beat things up, it is not that game. It's very puzzly, and actually, for me, I can't see me playing it 4-player.
No.
Ever. Because I think it will just take too long, and probably it doesn't need 4 players, and I think 2 is probably the maximum I'd ever want to play it at. But I play a lot solo, and I think it's just a fantastic game to play solo. It surprised me actually how much I am enjoying it, and it's a lot of variety in there, a lot of bots, a lot of different abilities that all the bots do. One comes with a drone that you can send off, one can do something else, one's like big muscly and you can break walls down, and again it's more puzzly, I'd say, to try and work it around, but very
I'm
good.
quite intrigued.
Yeah,
it does look good.
It's pretty cool. But yeah, is it better than Bones? No. Of course it's not. Nothing's
Is
better
anything? I was going to
No,
say.
nothing's better than Too Many Bones. But am I enjoying it? Absolutely. Has it got flaws? Yeah. I think it's not perfect. But I'm surprised how much I keep coming back to it to get it to
Well,
the table.
enjoyment's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're enjoying it, then why not?
It makes you feel clever. So when you kind of navigated you around the guards, or you've manipulated them to move in a certain direction so you can go and do something else, and you feel like when you pull that off and you're like, my plan has worked.
It's like a light bulb moment.
Yeah, and then
it's all come together. Yeah.
And then, like in Metal Gear Solid, sometimes it doesn't work, and you get that noise. It goes, and then they'll come after you and beat you up. So it's all good fun though. I'd recommend giving it a whirl.
There we go. How about yourself, Tambo?
So recently we JP was kind enough to host. We played Nemesis Lockdown.
Oh yes.
Yeah, which is a standalone expansion, isn't it? So you can so you don't actually have to have Nemesis to play it. It was great. Really good. I'm a massive fan of Nemesis anyway.
I think we all are, aren't we?
Yeah, we do enjoy Nemesis.
It was very punishing, as it always is. Very, very punishing.
What game hasn't been? I mean, out of the games we played, I think people have escaped like twice and done their mission.
We've had about 3 wins.
About 3?
It's very basically like Nemesis. The card spending, your actions is very similar, but there are a few different extra things you can do on it, which was the power, which was the main one, wasn't it? It was we didn't realise how punishing it was, but you can switch the power on and off, or try and keep it on because it keeps turning off.
Yeah.
Do more bad guys come out if the power's off then?
No,
Yeah.
not necessarily. No, the power is a mechanic that's linked to the Night Stalkers, which is the new alien.
bad
They're like
guys.
bat-like creatures, and they thrive in darkness.
Okay.
So you know how you pull the tokens out of the bag.
Yep.
They've got two numbers on. One is if you're in the light, and one is when you're in the dark. And also event
So
cards.
it starts punishing you. If
there's always a darkness event on the event cards, which is horrible. So it's a bad event, and then there's an even worse part.
A good thing if you're evil, then you can keep turning the light off.
Absolutely, yeah.
Or not fix the lights altogether.
Yeah. Well, that was in this scenario when we were playing. I was the blind person, so actually wasn't that bad in night, so it didn't bother me that much.
The lab rat, right?
Lab rat, that's it. Yeah, so she's already blind. So when you're in darkness, you've got cards that just affect the darkness on the events. Yeah. So unfortunately, I started near the power room, which we found, and then so these guys want me to turn it on, but it didn't interest me to turn it on. But it was punishing in the end, very punishing. But again, really, really, really good game.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mechanic it has on the time track is essentially it starts switching certain power sections off as the time track moves along, and if you don't activate the backup generator, then the power switch off happens more frequently.
Okay.
And to be fair, it was our first game with the new characters, and then I realised about halfway through that I can use an elevator without the power. Damn.
That was your ability, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's my ability. And if I'd figured that out earlier, I would have nipped that down, activate the power generator, and then we might have been alright. But
and you got backup power as well, didn't you? There's a backup
that was
power.
it, yeah.
How are the new characters?
Yeah, they seemed quite good.
Good
yeah,
fun.
I can't remember. I was the lab rat. There's a janitor, isn't there?
I was the janitor.
You was the janitor.
I was going to say that with the lights going on
It's
and
more-
off, and you need to fix the light. I was like, is there going to be a janitor? Of course, there's a janitor.
Yeah.
I think there's more staff people now, isn't it, on this one? I think.
Yeah, the more facility staff. I think Curly was he was like a guard sentry, wasn't he? That was it. And we had a hacker,
Yep.
which was Jay.
But she couldn't find a computer, so it was hilarious. So he was actually useless,
He ran around
and he got really frustrated as well, which is
Yeah, I think he had a bad night in general, and then played Nemesis, which is probably not the best idea.
Yeah, can be quite punishing.
But no, I enjoyed it. I think it's
the other
quite
extra
nice.
mechanic on it was the computer. When you play computer, there's a computer deck now, so each computer has different effects. You can choose to use one or two.
Oh, I like that.
Or three, yeah.
It's a lot better.
And you burn the card, and there's another one, so all computers have different
Effects.
effects.
That is nice. That adds another layer to it, because
sometimes
you do feel quite limited with what actions you can do in a room. So that gives you.
you can open doors, close doors. You can move power around the facility. It gives you a bit more flexibility in helping people or shafting people.
Yeah.
But which we didn't get to do much anyway because we couldn't find a computer. So, but maybe next time we'll try next time. So yeah, no, that was the biggest game I played that I really enjoyed. I played a lot of other games, but I can only choose one, so that was the one.
The thing before we probably wrap that up, but the coolest bit I actually really enjoyed was actually the contingencies. So what that is at the end of the time track, you pick one of the 7 or 9 tokens face down, and that sits at the bottom, and then every player gets dealt one of the other ones. So essentially you have a reference card, and you know that the token you get is not the contingency that's in play because you've got it. Mm-hmm. So you're trying to deduce what that contingency is, and it's basically what the corporation is going to do at the end of the time. And it's a case of if you're in a CSS pod, you die, or if you're in the bunker, you die, or if you're in this particular place, you die, or if you've sent the signal.
So it's not always good to get an escape pod or something like that now.
Whereas before it's like,
that's what you always
get escape pod, get home,
you can
safe.
You can do your whole goals, and then suddenly you might just die.
Yeah,
you haven't figured that out.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It's like a whodunit little.
Yeah, it's like Cluedo.
Yeah.
But with horrible shits.
Because it needs more horrible shit. Yeah.
Was with Tambo, he got shanked on his last turn.
I was so close. I was so close to getting a buggy. I would have to get through one event phase.
Did you not see it coming as that character? No.
No. I was blind. No.
Right. So I have been playing Return to Dark Tower, but I was going to talk about that later. So the main one I was going to talk about was Bitoku. So me and Tambo had a game of Bitoku. It's a real nice dice Euro game that also has a bit of deck building in there as well, and like a board management. 2-player was really good. I feel like 4-player would have better contention, but it is a really pretty game. The dice values matter. You never roll a dice, but your dice values matter, and you always have to manipulate them. Worker placement aspect, but you're putting your dice out instead, and the value of that dice gives you other benefits which are down or means that you can't go to certain spaces, and then that dice will then ascend, and you lose a certain value of that dice, and you get another action, and you kind of end up chaining these actions together to give you VPs and basically just do cool things.
Yeah, what I like about the VPs, there's so many different ways you've got VPs off that game.
Yes.
There's so many, you can go down 4 different routes.
Yeah.
Just choose one and do it.
Which is really nice.
Yeah.
Really nice. I think the more you play it, you'll have more effect on other people because you'll see where they're going and you'll try and stop them in other aspects. So it's definitely got its replayability.
There'll be definitely more to think about 4 players.
Yes. Yeah, because with 2 players, there's only 1 slot in each area.
Right, okay.
So there's not really much contention. Whereas with 4 player, you have 3 or 4 slots in each area, but you can't go there if the dice value is more than your dice you're putting out.
Right.
So it starts adding this contention of you've got to wait till that person ascends that dice before you can get out there. But then you don't want to wait too long because you won't be able to ascend because when the ascension there's less slots.
What's the theme of the game like? What
The theme is so you're a spirit,
right?
And you are basically wanting to become a god. One of the main spirits, and it's just about going around the spirit isle of it's kind of Japanese themed. It just looks really pretty.
Looks pretty.
And I'm sure there's more to it. I'm probably quite.
You're all about the mechanics, Davey.
Yeah,
I know, but it looks nice as well. And I mean, my missus, she looked at it and went, "Ooh, I think I'd like to play that." And
Look at all the colours.
No, you won't. I don't think you probably would actually.
To be fair, when you first look at it, it looks really confusing. But once you play it, it's actually very simple.
It is very
I know we play a lot of games, but it is actually very simple.
It is. It's simple in application, but it's complicated in developing a strategy.
Yeah.
So your actions are simple in what you do, but then actually putting forward the strategy and putting it all together, I think that's where the complexity comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
no, I'm looking forward to playing. We've got a game.
Yes,
we
we've got a game coming up. Yeah. So
I missed out on that one. It filled up very quickly.
yes. I think a lot of people want to
Right.
play
I
it.
played it already, so it's good.
No,
Yeah.
We must go out.
There'll be more if people like it. There'll obviously be more going in anyway. So there we go. That's that one. So today's episode, Cardboard Arcade, we're going to talk about the conversion of video games into board games. Fad, folly, or fucking fantastic? Let's find out. Beep.
I'm too late with my machine. I missed you.
So we've all kind of played a lot of computer games in our youth, or some of us still do. We've seen the early computer games when they turned them into board games, where they're just doing it for licensing, everything else. We're here talking about how it's kind of developed, changed, and now we're getting pretty much not like for like, but just as complex, just as many mechanics, all thrown into a board game.
It's a serious adaptation of the license and intellectual property and the way that game works. Right. This is what a lot of publishers are doing now. I'm sure there's still the old kind of shitty stuff that's still out there. Like, oh, let's get a game, let's put that out and see if it sells. But there is a lot of publishers that are actually doing the effort.
They've kind of put their all into it, and it's come so far. I feel like board games now are taking a lot of influence from computer games, and sometimes vice versa, but they're taking a lot of influence from computer games and adding in these mechanics, and it's working because there's just... I don't know whether it's a lot of people have got more used to certain mechanics, so a lot of these games flow a lot more now, or whether they've just implemented mechanics a lot better now. Rule books have got better, and it's become a lot more streamlined.
I think we're in this golden age of board gaming, tabletop gaming right now, and we have been for, I don't know, the past 5, 6, 7, 8 years or whatever, and it's just... I mean, we think it's massively popular because we're in our little insular bubble. But you know, and I know, as soon as you talk about this hobby to anybody else, they're like, what the hell are you talking about?
Cluedo, Monopoly, all these things get mentioned still. And you think, no, it's come so far.
Because we're in our bubble. But I think, you know, within the bubble is getting bigger. Yes. And there's a lot more people in there. And you just have to look at UK Games Expo and look how many people are just there. And that's just in the UK, right? Not counting Essen and not counting, Origins Game Fair or whatever in the States and Gen Con and all those other ones that, literally tens and hundreds of thousands of people, probably even millions, know about the games that we play. And I think publishers of video games now are seen as a more viable market maybe to try and tap into, and they know that you can't get away with just putting crap out there.
It's also I feel a lot more accessible for people because I used to play a lot of computer games, and I've kind of now started playing more board games than I do computer games because it doesn't really. I prefer the social aspect, I think, of the board gaming side. Yes, and I showed my friends a Lord of the Rings card game, and usually they were like big Destiny players, like computer games, and wouldn't really play anything else. But they've been playing a lot more board games now because I've been showing them all the different types that there are, and it's not just limited to these like talisman or like roll and moves. They've got a lot more complex mechanics. There's a lot more to it now. There's a lot more character building, everything else. So they've actually been playing a lot more, and I feel like that's kind of closing the gap now. Yeah, and that's why it's becoming more popular.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think a lot of people are kind of sharing. I mean, Christ, how many times have we tried to get others into the hobby? It's kind of like, as soon as anyone mentions board game, I was in the office literally last week at work, and someone was commenting my wallpaper on my laptop, which was Nemesis Lockdown. Weirdly enough, that was quite a weird segue because I've just been talking about it. And he asked, he went, "Oh, well, what's that?" I said, "Oh, it's a board game." And he's like, "What?" And then we just started having a chat, and then I got really excited. I had to hold myself back, and the next thing I knew, I was a board game geek, and I was like, "Look, there's loads, there's so many." And I think this particular person had dabbled and played like Betrayal on House of the Hill.
Yes,
and usual Carcassonnes and the other stuff. But it's just you get excited, don't you? I do.
Yeah, definitely.
Come and join in. We want you to know about our secret club and make it not secret anymore.
I guess the difference is probably, I was about to say the cost, but I think computer games are about the same cost as a board game now.
It's like 60 quid a new game now.
Yeah.
I guess space is a big difference because you can download it onto a hard drive, whereas the board game, eventually
you only need one Kallax cube for your Xbox or PlayStation to sit in, and then have lots of terabytes of storage, and you're good, aren't you? But we don't have that luxury.
No, about 10, 12. So, out of all of those, what's kind of your favourite conversion? Who's done it the best?
God, that is a question. That is a question, Davey.
What's your favourite conversion? What do you feel has kept to its source material?
For me, I've got one.
Yeah.
For me, Civilization.
Yeah.
I think, and I'm talking about the 2010 version that Fantasy Flight Games had published many moons ago. When you play that game, it feels like Civ. Plays a hell of a lot shorter time, even though it is 3-4 hours long.
Yes,
but you can play Civ 6 for whatever.
I think what makes that is the tech tree in it. That's what kind of links that over to it in my eyes. Anyway.
Yeah, it's that pyramid structure you're building of your tech. I love that. That you can't do a level 2 until you've got 2 level 1s underneath, and then you're kind of building up the tech tree to that 5th level one of your win
creates
conditions.
Competition between you and other players as well, because you've always got to be watching their tech tree, and it's kind of like a little bit of a race with your techs in that aspect as well.
I've not played Civ New Dawn or the Terrain Company.
No, we haven't, have we?
I would actually really like to, mainly because it's got the action selection mechanism. It's the same as Ark Nova, because Ark Nova used the same one as Civ.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's the same thing, and I think that would be quite an interesting take on it. But yeah, when I'm sitting down and playing Civ, it feels like I'm playing Civ. They've done the mechanics, the feeling, and again for me, when you're playing a board game, it's what you touched upon, Davey. It's that social element, and even if I was playing Civ online, I'm got a headset on, or I'm miles away from the other players, but I can sit, look at people's eyes, and just have that experience.
I guess we're kind of old school gamers, so when we grew up with it, it was
multi-tap.
It was couch co-op, and a lot of couch play. So you'd always be playing computer games with your friends, and now I feel like a lot of that's kind of gone away from the social side of it because you sit on a mic online with each other instead. So we've gravitated towards maybe board games to get that social aspect.
One of the best moments of my life as a kid, having the SNES, Super Nintendo, was getting the 4-player multi-tap, so we can have 4 controllers and play Bomberman.
Play Bomberman.
4-player Bomberman, man. Oh my god, changed my life. Like, really.
Do a board game with Bomberman.
I was going to say,
a deck builder, Bomberman.
Yeah.
But, oh my god, we played that for weeks. And
it was so much fun.
But it's the same principle, though. It's because you're all there, the banter's there, someone messes up, you're laughing. Yeah. It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, Civ.
Okay, how about you, Tambo?
To be honest, I'd probably have to say Doom was quite good, it's dungeon crawler.
Yep.
The monsters were there, they looked really good.
Very thematic, isn't it? Yeah, it's very thematic.
Yeah, and then all the weapons are there, so Doom was one of my favourites, I think.
It feels
like
to be honest, I was going to agree and go with Doom as well. It feels like Doom. It's fast action, fast paced, a lot going on. Maybe it's a little bit imbalanced in fact the evil guy probably needs to be a little bit stronger, but
there's no maybe about that.
Yeah, you definitely feel like you're kicking ass as the Doom characters. You're just going around just blowing everything up.
Yeah, it's definitely more fun to be the Doom guy or one of those than it is to be I forget the official name, the Invaders or whatever they're called. Because I always remember a game where we had I was the bad guys and Chris in the group was just using the teleporters, or one of you was, and you just teleport left and right, and it was just like, you broke the game, I can't do anything. It's just like, this is not fun for me anymore.
No, that's
but you're right, when you're playing as the good guys and you're comboing that card, because it's like a deck of 10 cards, right?
Yeah.
And you're chaining, I'll do this and then chain that off and chain that
blow
off.
him up and I'm destroying him.
That's fun.
That
is fun.
And that's all about
picking up, got a new gun, got the BFG, and blowing them up. It feels like Doom, which is quite hard to do, but it probably needs an AI element to it, so you could play it 4-player against the computer instead, and then you all feel overpowered and great, but it could maybe chuck more enemies at you and do it that way.
I 100% agree. I think if they did something similar to Descent, 2nd Edition, Imperial Assault, and just put
and
that
Fallout,
element.
haven't they done that now as well? Or no? They've made it a
co-op mode. It's
yeah.
not an app driven.
No.
But I think if they had the app that was just driving the bad guys, that would I think be interesting.
Brilliant,
yeah. So talking of Fallout, I think that for me going the other way was one of my biggest disappointments of a computer game that's gone into a board game. It just didn't fit for me. Maybe the theme was slightly there, but it just didn't have any oomph about it. It had no depth. It felt more like a roll and move again. But there was some cool equipment you could get, but it wasn't enough. Fallout is a very deep, story-driven game. The cards, once you'd seen a couple of them, you're probably kind of done with it. A lot of them didn't have enough consequence, or you didn't have enough weight behind your actions.
Yeah.
So, on that topic, how about?
Yeah, I owned it. I don't own it anymore, but I did own it, and actually, whilst I owned it, I enjoyed it a lot. What I didn't like about it was the fact it was a competitive game, which I felt didn't make sense. Until they released the expansion, they actually did a co-op scenario, which was a hell of a lot better. Just felt more Fallouty than let's have a co-op.
Did we ever do the co-op?
I definitely did.
You did,
yeah.
I don't remember playing the co-op.
But it's the fact that you kind of play the game and you're going on quests and it's all good, and I quite like the cards that they had and the system around that. I thought that was quite cool. I think it's a fair point. Once you played it a few times, you might be seeing the same things coming out. The cards. It's one of them. But the fact that you get to a point, you're kind of getting into it, and then someone goes, I've got this and I've won. And you're like, oh, okay. And it just ends like that. It's like, bang, end.
Maybe that's why it also didn't feel right, is because of that competitive side of it. It just doesn't click with the RPG or Fallout. You're building your own story. You're trying to do this, and then someone goes, "I've ended the game."
But I've won because I've got so many points. And it's like, well, but can't we finish the scenario because I was kind of getting into it?
Yeah.
But then might leads into the problem of if it was fully, not if, because it is fully co-op now with the Atomic Bonds, I think, expansion that they've released. Once you've done that scenario, how replayable is that scenario again? Don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that adds, because it might add a lot more flavour, more variability. But I did like it, but I very quickly got to a point where I'm done with this now.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it the 3 times I played it. But
Yeah.
And I've never actually played the game, so that from that
Oh, that's
perspective.
interesting.
You never played Fallout?
Oh, not really. I played it for a bit, and I played another game because there's so many different games
Oh,
to
I
play.
didn't know
It's a big
No.
time sink.
No,
Yeah,
I knew about
understand.
Fallout and I knew the concept of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it.
I
Funny,
recommend
I
you
played it.
do.
Yeah, I'd recommend playing
Recommend you
Fallout.
do play.
I tried. I tried, but I don't have the time. That's the problem. It's a
Yes,
time-consuming game, isn't it?
It's
one of
quite
those
daunting.
really-
It's one of those open worlds that you come to it and you're like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
There's so much to
Elden
do.
Ring all over for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so another game which is coming over from the computer game aspect is Cyberpunk. There's been a lot of hoo-ha about that. The actual video game, let's face it, didn't live up to its hype. And the actual board game seems to be flopping a little bit as well. It's CMON, which means it's always a little bit overpriced because there's miniatures. Lots of miniatures usually. But what's our thoughts about that?
It's hard to say it's flopping when it's what backed or earned 650k.
Yeah,
and that's
I know.
deemed as a flop.
This is the thing. People have deemed it as flopping, and I did think, and I looked at it, I thought, that's a lot of money still. A lot of people have
And
backed that.
It's because it's CMON, and the CMON have
The
well,
big
the
engine.
expectation is that CMON get the IPs, don't they? And
Yes.
and they draw in the kind of punters through these crowd funds, and they do tend to break 1 million. In the
usually,
way it
yeah.
goes. But I think, and I looked at Cyberpunk and I saw the announcement, saw the video, and oh, this is interesting because I really like Cyberpunk, the video game.
I've dabbled again back. I've went back to it, and now they've released the new update.
Yeah.
It feels like a world, and I've been enjoying it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I mean, mate, I played it on the old Xbox where it was janky as anything, but to be fair, I kind of just got into the game and it was great for me.
Yeah.
But I saw the video and I thought, oh yeah, this would be great. And this isn't me bashing CMON. It's going to seem like I'm bashing CMON, but as soon as I saw CMON were publishing it, it turned me off. One, because I know that their crowdfunding campaigns are just going to be bloated, full of plastic miniatures. You just know they're going to be. And two,
one thing that pisses me off with that is space as well. It's not even just the miniatures will look really cool and everything, but
can
it
you
adds...
put them in the box? One box?
Yeah.
Not 17 boxes.
Yeah.
I don't want that. But yeah, number 2 was the whole Marvel Zombies stuff that has been going on. Like, you know, the shipping on this bad boy is going to be, because of all the boxes and things you probably end up getting, is going to be quite high. Okay, is that CMON's fault or is that economy's fault? Well, I'm not going to get into that. But either or, for me, it's like, nah, I'm done. And maybe that's what people are picking up on, kind of around the world, and going, you know what, I'm a bit more cautious about backing CMON games now, because I kind of know how they're going to go.
Because other conversion games, to continue on that topic, like Witcher, Company of Heroes, have been selling very well.
Yes.
As a comparison to that.
Yeah.
So maybe a CMON have kind of tardied their name a little.
Maybe. It's an interesting topic, isn't it? And you probably stray into that one and talk about it for 50 minutes. But it's going back to your kind of theme of video games to board games. I mean, do you guys know much about the Cyberpunk game?
I think.
Well, I watched the video on it, and I haven't played it myself. But no, it's an area control game, and it's not. It's actually based about gangs, not actually when
Gangs of Night Cities.
It's Gangs of Night Cities, yeah. And it's it's like a control area game, and you get a couple of actions, and you can put down a hideout where you respawn your characters, and you spend euros, and you got secrets as a eddies, yeah. And then you attack each other with a couple of upgrade cards, and you put a card out. So it's kind of like that when you go into their areas.
It didn't seem what I thought it would be from being a Cyberpunk game.
Yeah.
It seemed to go down quite a different avenue with it, with the gang building and everything else, whereas you'd kind of think it'd be more, not solo RPG, but going out, having your own adventure
Doing
kind of
quests
thing
and
into it.
missions.
Yeah, but maybe they thought, oh, that's too obvious. Let's go away from that.
Yeah.
Whereas they probably maybe should have continued down it, because keeping on the point of, it feels like it's got the license of Cyberpunk, but it's nothing like the game. It's just taking the aspects from the game and putting them in and out, and it's just taking the name.
But who knows? Like that game, we haven't played it, so it's really hard for us to comment.
Yes.
It might actually, when you play it, feel really good,
thematic,
and actually,
definitely.
It's quite nice they have done a different take on it, rather than going, you play as V, the main character, and you're gonna walk around, you're gonna do things, and then people probably would just go, well, it's too much like the video game, so you're never going to win. No, so maybe they've just gone in a completely different direction with it.
Plus, it might be quite hard to make a game like that on a board game. So
all
we had to do the gangster.
Absolutely. So it reminded me when I did look at some of the elements of kind of blood ragey kind of thing, and the fact that it's area control.
Yep.
I mean, it just what I got feelings of, but mainly because of the area control.
But I found myself drawn to it, and then I had to tell myself, is it just because it's a cyberpunk theme and I do enjoy that theme? And then the more I looked at it, I thought, I think that is it. I think that
it's very colourful. It's good.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And I just feeling like, I think that is the only reason that it's drawing me in.
Yeah.
Keeping on kind of that topic of, does it have to play like the video game? I've got Darkest Dungeon on the way, and that it looks like they've tried to do a board game version of the computer game.
Yeah, I understand why though.
It works. I feel like it's going to work really well, and it looks really fun. Been waiting on it for about 2-3 years now.
Longer than Frosthaven.
Yeah, longer than Frosthaven. It was meant to be out 2 years, November, I think, but they kind of kept bringing out more expansion and stretch goals, and I just think, send me the game. I want to play the main game first. I might actually buy them, but I want to play the main game. But to me, from what the video I've seen and everything, it looked like they've tried to keep it very much in tied up with that game universe and tied up with the mechanics.
Which is turn-based, right? Darkest Dungeon, it's kind of a turn-based
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah. So you basically, if you don't know what it is, you have formations of your characters, and then you have an enemy formation. Mm-hmm. And your characters all have different abilities, but formation actually is a crucial part to combat. So you'll have like a chain which will pull the back character of the enemy line to the front. And when they're at the front, you can do more damage, or you can stun them and you can do certain things, or you could push their main damage dealer right to the back. And it brings this extra element in.
It's all 2D.
It's all 2D.
Yeah, it's not 3D at all, it's 2D.
It also has this cool mechanic of each your character feels human, and they get traits. And they can be bad traits, afflictions, or good traits. And these bad traits are sometimes that they'll start robbing your other party members, or they'll get scared and they'll change their formation in the line if something happens. And it's got these very little cool bits, which I'm very intrigued to see how they bring that into the board game as well. Because the exploration side, I think they've done in quite a clever way, in the fact that it's just a grid that you have a lot of tiles on, and you just flick the tiles over as you go along, and it will tell you what type of event you're pulling and what type of thing that you're coming across. So you don't actually play on like a big board per se. You kind of do it through the decks and the cards and this little tile system to make it quite streamlined as you're venturing over.
I can see it working well. Having played Darkest Dungeon, I can see them doing a board game adaptation makes sense, and that it could work well, providing it's not
as like a little one shot. I'm really interested. That's it. It's a little one shot when you just go around and play like a 2-hour game and play that dungeon. And then you might fail, and then you have to come back and do it again.
And that appeals to me.
Yeah,
I've got enough campaign stuff going on in my life.
Yes, and that appealed to me as it has a little one shot game. But I was quite intrigued at how close they tried to keep it to the computer game.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, got that one on the way. On the note of Cardboard Arcade, do we own any of these games that have transferred over from computer games? Was it the selling point for you?
Actually, it was a video game for me, because I've got Resident Evil 2, which I'm a huge fan. I loved back in the day, but then the remake was really good as well. And I saw
it's that tension, the tension of the horror. Liquor coming down from the roof.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
and I love that game.
When I first saw the liquor coming through the glass, that scared the crap up. It's the first time I've been scared in the game, so it was like a bit of nostalgia for me. But so I bought the board game a week ago, and me, Rob, and Chrissy got it to table, and it was very, very good. I quite
Did it
enjoyed
feel like Resident
yes,
Evil?
very feel like Resident Evil, because you think, oh, it's just another zombie shooter. It really isn't.
Yeah.
Because you really got to be careful where you move and when you do your actions, because it's not
manage your bullets.
Yeah, you got to be careful of ammo. Definitely, that's one of the major things. You got
survival horror.
Yeah, I mean, you got it's horrible dice, which is like 1 in 6 chance that you can actually get hit.
And like Nemesis.
But with the handgun, that is, and then if you get a 1 hit symbol, which only pushes the zombie back, so it doesn't actually kill him. So you got to be very careful. Yeah, and when you move and you do all your 4 actions.
Did you roll well?
No. None of us really did, and it's a punishing game in that sense. But you kind of want to kill everything, but you really can't.
You can't.
Yeah. You've got to do a lot of evading battles. Yeah, and then so when you do all your 4 actions, they instantly react. But when you do an attack action, they instantly react. So it's not like Zombicide when they have the whole phase of the zombies coming in.
Yeah,
they're always moving and they're always coming after you.
That's quite cool.
Yeah,
that adds a bit more tension then, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you've got to be very careful because you've got 2 players on the same tile, not the same square, but the same tile, and he's attacking. The zombies will move.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
So yeah, it's a really good concept in that sense. And that's what I think Resident Evil is all about, isn't it? It's like you gotta walk and you can't kill all the zombies. You try and shoot them in the head, you don't, do you? For the board game to the game, it's spot on, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Apart from the puzzling aspect, which I didn't actually.
So it's come a long way, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It has come a long way. Because I remember in the past, it used to just be about the license, and the board game used to have nothing to do with it, did it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How about you, JP? Have you got any?
I've got a couple. XCOM, which I've talked about quite a few times on the podcast because it's the first game that got me back into the hobby. So XCOM is a stress-filled 2 hours of your life, completely app-driven. So if you don't like that, you probably ain't gonna like XCOM. But it does give you a feeling of the tactical base management of XCOM. What it doesn't do is the battlefield element.
It'd be nice if it did that though.
Yeah. So if you're looking for, I want to use my squad and maneuver them around the maps and take the aliens down, it's kind of condensed that into dice rolls essentially and allocations of squad members. But I understand probably why they've done it from a design perspective, because they're just trying to
it'd be quite hard to do. You would have to pause everything and then be like, right, now we're playing this game.
It'd be a different game.
It would be a different game.
So I remember you assign your shoulders to a mission, don't you? That's it.
Yeah.
You put 3 soldiers on a card mission.
Yeah, that's it. And then
depending on funds.
Yeah,
right?
and then you roll to see if you can do it.
Yeah, usually you're doing it whilst the
it's usually Curly, isn't it?
It's usually him.
He's always in charge of the funds. Every time I play, he's always in charge of the funds.
Yeah, he's always going, no, you're not allowed that. It's like, no, I need it. No, you're not allowed the money.
It's usually a lot of tutting, isn't it?
Yeah.
To give up the budget so you can do all this stuff. But it generates the...
Curly the Bursar.
Yeah. It generates the stress,
yeah,
which XCOM does. It always feels like you're up against it.
Yes, it does.
And it really brings that in space. That's number 1. Number 2, actually, and I didn't realise this, and it probably isn't a direct tie-in, so don't shoot me, listeners, but Star Wars Rebellion, in 98, there was a PC game called Star Wars Supremacy in the UK. I think it was Rebellion in the US. And I think it's a similar game to what Star Wars Rebellion is now in board game fashion. I bought it as a kid because I nagged my stepdad at PC World and I said, "Look, it's Star Wars, it's going to be brilliant." And he's like, "Oh, go away." And then eventually I think he relented and bought it, and I got it home, installed it, and played it, and I thought, "Oh, this is shit." And I really didn't enjoy it. And it's that moment of crushing disappointment when you buy a game. It was that, because it wasn't what I expected. But then now, having got the board game, it's bloody brilliant, because again, I'm not sure it's direct copy, but I don't know, there's something about the board game and just sitting there with all of the physical pieces, the Death Star, sending your missions out on those
very chess-like.
Leaders, sending leaders out on those missions, and it is a bit like chess-like. It's that strategic
cat and mouse, but chess.
Absolutely, I think it's a fantastic bloody game, and one that doesn't hit the table often enough. But that loosely based off the video PC game.
It's gone the other way this time. The board game's actually better than the computer game. It was meant to be imitating.
Although I'm going from a memory of me being 17, so probably wasn't ready for it anyway.
There's a lot more coming out as well that have come out. Stardew Valley, but none of us have played.
No.
But I hear that's going to be really good co-op.
Saw that at Expo, didn't we?
We couldn't get to play it because everyone wanted to play it. So Witcher, which Rob's got on the way.
Rob's got his. I think it's coming this year, end of the year.
Nice.
Looking forward to that one.
Street Fighter, I guess an arena type game.
Yeah, Street Fighter miniatures game. very, very gorgeous.
Shut Up and Sit Down did a review of it, haven't they? And they said it was really good, but you can't get it anywhere.
Yeah, essentially, it was a Kickstarter only, but it's supposed to be good fun. The minis.
Bloodborne, I was really looking forward to play, but Curly had it, but he sold it. So,
I think he looked at it and looked at about 7 expansions that came with it, and just went, no.
Yeah, well,
Curly.
I think it was more because it was like gold dust as well. So he thought, well, I'll get rid of it instead.
Yeah.
This War of Mine, Adrian had. But he didn't enjoy because it was quite a doom and gloom game, which
misery in a box.
Yes, which is understandable.
Yeah.
Cuphead dice game.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of this.
I only heard about this the other.
I'm quite intrigued by this.
Other week. It looks fun.
Yeah.
Cuphead being that visual
really good.
style. Cuphead's a great game.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure how the dice game's going to feel like Cuphead.
No, exactly. But whether this is just going to be another name tacked on.
No idea what you're talking about.
Cuphead.
It's like
a platformer.
Yeah, 2D platformer done. It was all hand animated, so it was actually a really cool story behind it.
Right.
It's 2 brothers, and they pretty much invested their whole life into this video game, and they were obsessed with old Mickey Mouse Disney style.
Right.
And
like
he basically quit
style animation.
Yeah. And they basically quit their job to hand animate and self-produce this game. And they put their whole life behind it. They nearly lost everything, and then it came out, and they've won loads of awards. It's been critically acclaimed, and it's a
bloody
hard game.
Oh, yeah.
It's good.
Generally, all platforms are, aren't they?
But it's quite a heartwarming story between these two guys.
The characters are basically cups, like mugs, and like what you have your coffee in, with eyes on and a body, and then they shoot bullets out their fingers.
Yeah.
So they go boop, 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 boop,
Who thinks of this, right?
Yeah. And it's about them making a deal with this devil and then trying to get their souls back. Yeah, I think it's trying to get their souls back.
It's addictive.
It's a really good game. So I'm intrigued by that. Then there's Company of Heroes. So I've played Company of Heroes on the computer, and that I thought that was a really good RTS, real-time strategy. And all your units were quite impactful. They all had their own little abilities. So your stormtroopers, playing as the Germans, the Axis, had SMGs. They're only good at close range, but they're really good at close range. But you had to get them there first. Lots of tactical elements, using cover properly. And apparently the board game, this little skirmish game, implements all of that, but into a tabletop game. People are really amazed by this. I can see it.
I looked at it and I'm already amazed by it. I think I'm very tempted by it.
It's rising really quickly on BGG, Board Game Geek. So yeah, I think we will be checking that out, and stay tuned. We might talk about it in
I saw a video
future episode.
And it's like when you look back when you were kids, you get these little green army men, right? You had the pack. Now you get to put on a board game, roll dice, and kill other divers. So how cool is that going to be?
And they all have
the army tanks and everything.
Proper abilities and
buildings. You put snipers on. It looks really good.
The production value does look very high as well.
But I think, looking at what you get for it, it could be you might not. You're quite happy to pay for it, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
You seem to get your value for the money. Well, it's as I said, it's the reviews on it seem to be.
I'll have to check it out.
Worth a look. Yeah. But it definitely seems to be a bridge over that gap now.
Yeah.
And we were talking about you're talking about Nemesis Lockdown, so Awakened Realms. They seem to do it retroactively, and after they make a board game, they make a computer game version of it. Because I see that Nemesis is now on Steam as well, and that looks really good. So it seems either industry are taking influence from each other and just coming together. So I feel less and less that a license is just used to sell a game, a bad game now, you know.
Well, also, like you say, to jump on that point, Slay the Spire, right? There's a video game that I know they're doing a board game version of it as well. But when you play the video game, it's essentially a deck builder. But obviously, it's a computer game, and it feels like you're playing a board game in the way that it works, and it's just fantastic. So obviously, drawing a lot of those influences from the board game space, putting it into the video game space. And it's just really interesting to see these two worlds collide and blend together. Like we've never seen before, which is great.
So it's been Cardboard Arcade. I know we've missed quite a few, but let us know your favourites, what ones that you're excited to see, anything that you feel like we should have talked about. And yeah, that's been us, because we've got more to talk about. We've got question time. question time. So we've got a great question from James McCann, who messaged us on Facebook. Your biggest board gaming disappointment and your biggest surprise.
This is a belter of a question.
Yeah, it's good.
It's a belter of a question if we'd prepared for this 48 hours in advance, James. So thanks for to be fair to James, he'd sent it in many weeks ago.
We've just been working through a list, but I just really like this question.
It's a great question. If you'd want, I can tee this one off if you like. Disappointment for me, Food Chain Magnate. Which I know, Davey, you're upset about because you bloody love it. It's one of your favourites, but for me, it's too punishing. I'm not strong enough. I can't hack it. Whatever you want to kind of say, it's just
pussy.
It's not for me. I'd need to play it so many times to even get remotely good at it, and I've just got other games I'd rather play, and that's just the long and short of it, really. So it's a game I thought I'd love, and I didn't. So bye. But the
It's
biggest
one in the bin, isn't it?
No, I've sold it because it's worth a lot of money. But the biggest surprise for me, I actually was going to say Too Many Bones, because that's just my stock answer for anything positive. But I'm actually going to change my answer because maybe I knew I'd like Too Many Bones, hence why I bought it. Although it was bought on a whim. But the one that actually surprised me the most was Dune Imperium, and I just thought about that as we've kind of gone through the episode. I bought Dune Imperium after I watched Dune in the cinema, and I was all in a buzz going, "Oh,
Gotta get it."
Dune, just brilliant!" I it made me feel really good. I wanted to know more about the lore, and I heard people go, Dune Imperium is really good. I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'll go on, I'll buy it. I bought it, played it, and then I saw the light, and actually was hella surprised how tight and awesome that game is.
It's amazing. It's a really good game.
And it just, and that's the word, surprise. It did surprise me. I thought it'd be good, but I didn't think it would be brilliant.
How about you, Tambo?
Oh, it's a difficult question, but my biggest letdown, and this is going to be a shock to everybody because it was everyone's face, is Ark Nova. Exactly. Well, the letdown part of it is I enjoyed the game, but then I hate the scoring system, and it punishes you.
You're not alone in the world with that.
No, I hate it, and it's such a shame because it's like a Terraforming Mars kind of based game when you play these cards, and I enjoy playing the game during the game, and then when it comes to the end, I just get so frustrated. Maybe a personal thing, maybe, it really infuriates me the scoring part of it. Negative. I don't know why they did.
I can understand it though. I do understand it. It doesn't feel good to play X amount of time and then someone to say, so you got minus points.
55. And then someone's got plus 5 points. They got a lot of points, but then I got minus 6. It's like, I've done something really badly wrong here.
I think we chatted about this, didn't we, T? And I think what we kind of boiled down to was when you try and compare your plays of Ark Nova, and you think last time I scored minus 10, and the time before that I scored minus 24, and then the time before that I won at 2, or whatever it might be. It's hard to compare the games back to back or even together in succession.
It's a variable end.
It's because of the way the game ends, and it can end really quickly. It can end really differently, and it's all relevant to who's rushing the ending or getting themselves set up ready to end the game. So it's hard to know. Am I doing better? Am I getting worse?
You can't
see that.
See your progress.
No.
Yeah, it's quite hard to quantify.
That's it.
What's your surprise?
Right, my biggest surprise recently, and I'm going to say it, is Takenoko. Just for this, because I went on Becky's and Curly's and we were playing a games day, and they said, we've got a game where you just have a panda and a gardener, and you move around. Okay, we'll try it.
Gun or gardener?
No, gardener.
Gardener. Panda and a gun.
Panda and a gun.
Colour me interested.
Yeah, that would have been a bit more
The
interesting.
shortest game ever. Panda's not getting away very quickly, is he?
No, gardener. And then I was like, an emperor's just bought a panda and you got to look after him. I was like, okay, let's just try that. And we put it at the table, and I tell you what, it's just a lovely looking game for a start. And it was so much fun. It's just so basic about just moving this panda around the board and building a garden and growing bamboos, and then you eat other people's bamboo, and it was very simple.
For cards,
victory points for eating, for eating bamboo, for growing the garden. For there's 3 different ways of getting good VPs, and it was very, very simple as well. So I just thought instantly, this is really good, and I've already bought it. So I've got it because the family are going to love that game. I know my niece and nephew will love that, so I played a lot.
Yeah, nice one too.
Yep.
Cool.
Nice.
What about you, Davey?
So my biggest disappointment is Perseverance.
Boo.
As you've heard, I'm not a massive fan, and I played the second episode 2. I enjoyed. It had a bit more depth and crunch. episode 1 just didn't do it for me, and I still feel like it's quite a lot of imbalance for such a game that seems a bit simple, but
JP's looking at you very evilly right now.
well, he doesn't agree, which is
Just
fine.
saying.
How dare he just Minecraft games?
It's not my favourite Minecraft game. I mean, they
He's
do
allowed to have
brilliant
his opinion,
games.
no?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Episode 2 did do it for me, but episode 1 did not. So yeah, I've already told him that I'm not playing episode 1 again. After I'm not enjoying this. No,
I don't want to play it.
yeah. And my biggest surprise is Return to Dark Tower. I thought it was going to be gimmicky. You see this big tower there that links to the app on your iPad or...
Oh, does it? Is it
Yeah.
actually all connected?
Links to an app.
Oh, okay.
And depending on what you do on your adventure, the tower reacts and spits skulls out into your part of the kingdom,
Yeah.
or it puts a seal onto someone else's part, which means they now have to start spending a resource to do their actions. And this tower spins around, makes noises, chucks stuff out at you, and you go out off adventuring. And I thought it was just going to be a big gimmick.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, because it's a remake of an old 1980s game.
Yeah,
that
is it a
used to
Restoration
use-
Games?
Yeah, it
copy,
used
is
to use this little like lights flickering and these like images that would spin on the tower. But they've implemented it into the app, so it's kind of video game-esque because you've got the app that will have all the campaigns on there, very similar to Descent, which we'll talk about in another up and coming episode. But you go through, you get companions that come out, they build you up, and it was a lot of fun, and it surprised me because I thought it was literally going to be absolute tosh. But I'll turn up because I thought it did look cool, so I was like, I'll turn up and play, and then it was like really enjoyable.
It's good when
So,
that happens, though.
yeah, there we go.
Well, brilliant question.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that, James. Good name. The turn you've all been looking forward to, the penultimate turn. Just going to talk about what's coming up and what exciting things we've got in the works.
In the calendar.
In the calendar.
Who's going first?
Don't mind. I'll start this
You
time.
go. You go.
So I've got a couple of games. Well, I've got a lot of games coming up, but the one I'm looking forward to most is sorry Gemma. What I'm looking forward to most is Barrage. Finally getting a 4-player game of it. I think it's the same as Bitoku. The 2-player game was good, but there's just not enough contention, and it's all about the map and where your water's going.
Yeah.
And the most boring theme ever. We're building dams, yay!
Hydroelectric
Yeah.
dams.
Whoa. Oh, I'm gonna spin my dial and build my dam. But I'm just looking forward to it. I think it's actually it's a really tight, lots of contention. It's gonna be a really good game, I think.
It's a mean game, actually. I think it's the fact that you can just get in each other's way and steal the roots of water and direct the water flows to different parts of the map.
There's going to be a lot of swear words, I
There's
think.
a lot of people going, you bastard, I was going to just use that to get power and now I can't do it, and all of that kind of stuff. It's a solid game.
I'm going to miss you on the teach now, though. You could have
That's
helped me with the teach. You know how to play it.
I do know how to play it, yeah.
I know how to play it, but I'm going to be teaching them how I learn it, which is in little short bursts and segments that have no conformity whatsoever.
But I am celebrating my wife's graduation, so
That's not a good excuse.
Yeah, I was going to say.
there you go.
Yeah, no, that is a good excuse. Sorry, Shell.
She does listen, you know that.
Well, how about you, Tambo?
So the game I'm looking forward to is when we play Perseverance Chronicle mode.
In your face, Davey.
Yeah, in your face. Yeah, that's going to be quite interesting. So that's the biggest game. It's the only game at the moment I'm going forward to. And also I'm looking towards the extension to my house, which we're getting a dining room. But this is related to gaming because it's going to be dining room stroke gaming room.
Oh,
nice.
When's that happening?
So it's happening now. So at the moment,
literally as we
it's starting
speak.
this week. So so it'll be that'd be good. Maybe if I get the funds allowed, nice gaming table in there as well.
Nice.
Yeah, nice.
So a bit more space, like you say.
There we go,
So
nice.
Who'd have thought Tambo joining this game of Mansions of Madness all those years ago, and now having his own gaming room?
Do you know the fact? The only game I actually owned, which I never really played, was Monopoly. And now, since I've joined this group, it's been 4 years, 5 years, I've got loads of games.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
And less money.
Yeah. Well, less arguing about Monopoly as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, I'm looking forward to that Chronicle mode. I'll be honest. I'm intrigued to see how it kind of strings those games together and gives you those abilities and powers.
Carry on effect. Yeah.
The fact that you don't have to win the game to win the mode.
No.
Kind of thing. It's interesting.
It would be good if it was just episode 2.
It's kind of the point, is that you're going through the chronicle of the survivors from end to end. And
I understand it thematically.
Yeah.
I do understand.
I don't know if it works yet or whether it's any good, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
But, yeah, cool.
Yep, that's it. Yep.
And
me.
you, JP.
Me. We've got Kanban, or Kanban, or however you want to pronounce it, Kanban EV, which is a Vital Lacerda design game, and that's the reason why I'm really excited to play it, because I never played one of his designs. He's very well known for doing heavy, interlocking, connected mechanism kind of games that are very linked to theme. So Kanban is all about essentially you work in a car, again, boring theme, you work in a car manufacturer, right? And you are getting designs for cars, you're getting parts for cars, you're building cars, you're testing cars, you're selling those cars. And all the while you're going into these departments doing it, you've got the boss called Sandra, and she kind of walks up and down the departments and going, we've not trained very well, have you? And she starts like docking you and yeah, being a bit like, middle management.
Do you get someone dressed up as that person in the actual room?
Yes,
yeah?
That's a mandatory that someone has to be Sandra. No, she's kind of like the AI that gets in your way.
But they're going to call her Karen.
I was going to say that. I suppose they call her Karen, yeah.
But she is known for being a bit of a bitch. And yeah, I'm just interested to play it. Ben's going to kind of bring it around. He's just recently got it. I've been so close to buying that, probably about 6 times, and I've never pulled the trigger, but now I don't have to. So it's all good. But yeah, looking forward to that.
This is when it plays a lot like Food Chain Magnet, and you want to throw it out the window.
Yeah, I don't like it. But we'll see. Looking forward to it.
No, that sounds good. And with that, our final turn is wrapping up, and victory points are about to be scored. I'm winning. Thanks everyone for listening. Please like, subscribe, and review on your podcast player of choice. If you want to get in contact with the show on our socials, you can either email us on players@whoseturn.co.uk, check out our Facebook page, Whose Turn Is It Anyway Podcast, our Instagram page, @WhoseTurnPodcast, and finally our TikTok, @Whose Turn Is It Anyway. We'll be back again in 2 weeks with another episode, so until then, whose turn is it?